Hi, this is Rick, and I am interviewing Tom Scherpenzeel from Kayak. Did I get close on the name?
Yes, yes, quite close, as close as many Americans can come.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
I
Um,
apologize. It's a difficult name.
oh, that's okay. No need to apologize. We're the ones that always need to apologize, I think, for things. uh,
Sure.
and your new CD is called Out of This World,
Yeah.
which I wasn't expecting. A lot of artists, I guess, with the COVID are putting out a lot of records.
Yeah. Sure. They've got nothing else to do. So, yeah.
Exactly. Um, when we talked on your last one for the 17 record, I think you were talking about using Pro Tools and the recording process. Was it different this time due to the distance, and how did you work that out?
Well, not that much difference. It was merely a way of more difficult to organize. But the way we record is lots of things are done at home. We use the studio for drums, but we all have our home studio, which you can record in a very good way. And I like to give the musicians of the band the freedom, to improvise and to think their own things without me looking over their shoulder. So one I give them directions, I give them the demos, and then I say, well, this is what I really want, and this is what you can do. Just come up with something. If it's good, we'll use it, and if the most important thing, if it works in the song,
Sure.
because I always say the song is master,
Right.
and that goes for everyone in the band. That's what we do, since 10 years. Most of it is done at home. Well, home, yes, home. And not everybody is present at the same time. There's no use. So, but my directions are clear, and they're such capable musicians. They understand what's needed for the song and what they can contribute, and then they come with their own ideas, and sometimes they use it, sometimes not. Depends. But this is a luxury with this band. They are so capable musicians that whatever they come up with, it's always good. It's a matter of, is it usable in the song?
Sure.
And yeah. So, but in effect, we started recording I already, when I'm writing in my studio, I already do the keyboards, most of it, and I adjust when other people have their parts. I change a little bit of the sounds when it's better. But in May, we started recording the drums over the first keyboard takes. And and then slowly over the summer, files kept being sent forward and backwards. And by the end of September, October, we had most of it done. And then we did the vocals. And that's really where we need to be there. You can't do vocals by Zoom. That's impossible.
Right.
There's so many little things that you can change while talking to someone, actually. And communication is, especially with vocals, it's vital. So that's what we had to wait for. But and with the COVID restrictions, with not too many people in one house, it was a matter of organizing. And but we managed.
Yeah. And with the vocals, that's something I'll come back to when we talk about the record,
Yeah.
because that seems to be a central theme with this record, where the vocals are very strong. You have, I think, four very good singers.
If you count me in, yes.
Yeah. Well, you do have one where you sing lead, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether I got that right, but we'll check on that later about which song it is.
The last
Um,
one.
the last one?
Yeah.
Okay. It was either that one or one before that. Okay. So the other one must be Christopher, I guess, huh? If he has one
Yeah,
song.
he does the last one. I think it's on site. I'm not sure, but it's one by one, it's called.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Um, so that sounds the same as I remember when we were talking about 17 and the record, where it's pretty much the same process. I think you had a couple of demos too included on a re-release.
Yeah, well, Inside Out Music asked us to if we could do something extra. And at that time, we made an hour of music and we didn't have any extras. So I suggested, well, I've got my demos here, and is that interesting? Yeah, they thought so. So now I think it wouldn't have made much difference, but they always want something extra besides the things we already do.
Yeah,
So we did that, but not this time. It's just one time. Nice to hear what it sounds when I'm doing the stuff, and then compare it to the final result. But I think it's not essential for enjoying the album. So it was, yeah, well,
exactly. Well, this one, I think, I can't remember how long the last one was, but this one's almost 70 minutes long, I believe,
yeah,
right?
right. The last one was an hour.
An hour, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not playing bass on this one, right? I think you did.
No, we know we have a very capable bass player, and I'm sorry to say that, but because I like playing the bass, but no, it's because the last one, I started making 17
Mhm.
without a real band, and we didn't have a bass player yet, so I took the chance and played the bass myself,
Sure.
and I asked Christopher then to play a certain track so I could judge how it would work if he played the bass, and he did it fantastic. So in a fantastic way. So and we've become a playing band, a unit, and it would be silly if I would play the bass on this album because it's a band, and
Yeah.
he does an amazing job. So don't need me there.
Yeah. And being someone who doesn't know anything about this sort of thing, I'm always amazed about how you can get a band sound by doing it, remotely and piecing it together. Because a lot of solo records, I'm not real, where they play the instruments themselves, I'm not real fond of unless that person is versed on every instrument. But this
Yeah.
one and the last record, also, you have constructed a sound that sounds like you're all together.
Yeah, well, it's also a matter of producing, and really the mix does make a lot of difference. But it's not easy. It's it's always, it has to sound like a band. But I think what really helps is the fact that we've actually played together as a band, and we've toured, we've played concerts, and so we sort of know where we could go without actually being there all together.
Mhm.
And especially when you start with the drums, beside the keyboard that's needed, of course, for the reference, but reference, I say.
It's good enough.
Yeah, good enough. You say Scherpenzeel and I say reference, and no, the drums are vital, and they have so much energy with Hans playing that it's almost become more easy when he's laying down the basic drum parts.
Right.
It's almost become impossible not to sound live. So in that respect, it's very important that we started with the drums, and that hasn't always been the case. Sometimes we even ended with the drums, which was silly, but it well, that's just a thing that had to be done.
Depends on the
But
song, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, the organizing was difficult then, but this time we could start with the drums, and as he gives so much energy in the to the band live as well. He's
Sure.
incredible. Really made a big change in the band and the energy in the band. So yeah, well, that really makes the difference in how it sounds like together like a band.
Yeah, and the last question about 17, I remember when we talked, you said it was a little bit new and you were a little bit too close to not rank it or rate it, but judge it. And I was wondering how you feel about it now,
Yeah, oh yeah, I always, yeah, I can't listen to an album the first year after I've made it,
especially
and
the time you spend on it too.
yeah, it's too
Yeah.
close, and it's too, I'm only the only downside to recording albums, I think, is that after a time you get used to what's good. You think, oh yeah, okay, yeah, okay. You can't be excited every time you hear it. It's impossible. So you think, yeah, okay, that's good. So I take that for granted, in your mind, and then you think, we could add this or could add that, and make it more exciting. And so in the end, it's always with especially with computer mixing.
Yeah.
and computer technology that you use, well, it's never finished. It can always, if it's, in the old days, if you chose for the piano as the basic track, that's the piano. Now you can think, well, maybe we can, fuck it, we're going to do the guitar instead.
Yeah.
It's 10 minutes.
It's already there.
So yeah, and that's the choices are harder because you can always change.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for me as a writer to keep that feeling of excitement. And and once the album is finished, everything that's good, and I'm sure that's a lot. I'm taking that for granted.
Yeah.
And then I have to sort of refresh myself and not listen to it for a while, and then I can appreciate it more. And of course, that's the same what happened to 17.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I enjoy it more. I enjoy it more than directly after we've made it.
yeah. So no thoughts about calling this one 18, I guess.
No. 17. It was meant to be released in 2017.
I see.
Which also, so it was the 17th album in 17, and we also thought we did it on October 17th.
Right.
It was just a number joke.
Sure.
But then came Inside Out Music, and they said, they offered us the contract, but we can only release it in 2018. Well, okay, so the joke was sort of half now, but we kept it. I don't like numbers as an album title, but for it was a sort of statement, and it worked. But
well,
we're
17 would be good for a heavy metal band.
We're not Chicago, it's not Kayak 18, 20, 29, and no.
Yeah, that's funny about them. I think they stopped after 11, and then they went back to numbering them again.
Oh, I don't. Oh, I've lost count.
Yeah, they were like Hot Streets, and then all of a sudden they went back. So
yeah.
kind of funny. So on a new record, I didn't notice any COVID songs, which I kind of enjoyed. I mean, I thought a lot of people kind of got maudlin with their music this past year.
Well, the point it's exactly, but the point is that all songs had been written before we started recording and before my heart attack.
Right.
So all songs were written before October 2019.
Okay.
And COVID still had to come. So it would have been really good if I already knew then that COVID would start. So there's no COVID songs on this album. No.
Right. Exactly. Is it a theme, or is it just a collection of songs with Out of the World as its title?
Yeah. That's
okay.
it.
The latter. Yeah.
Okay. The latter. Yeah. There's no theme, no concept. It's no.
That makes sense.
It's eclectic as we can get.
Okay. Well, I had the luxury of listening to it, which was different than the last time we talked with 17. So I kind of made some notes. So, and I have chicken scratch writing. So I'd like to talk about each song and get your thoughts on those. And, we'll try to do it quickly. The title track is the first track. And I like the opening flourish on the piano. I thought that was I'm not sure if you based the song around that or whether that was just added to begin it.
No, I had the theme, the instrumental theme that came after it, played by the guitar.
Right.
I had it, in a simple way, but then I started exploring that theme, and I found that I could play it, in this 16th mode, a really quick pattern of notes, and that felt good. So I used it under the guitar as well, but that it's not so obvious. So I thought, well, if I want people to hear it, I better start with it.
It really starts the record out nice. It just
I thought spectacular beginning. So
yes,
yeah,
and I love the instrumentation from everybody. I mean, in that song, it's just really nice. And this will come back as a theme. The voices are just the singing is just top notch.
Yeah, we have incredible singers in the band. Yeah,
right. It's just the vocal phrasing and the way it's put in is just very well written. I applaud you on that.
It's one of the things that I enjoy doing. Besides the instrumental part, I'm a huge Beach Boys fan, for instance. So and that's always, I'm always trying to get that same idea. Well, not the same idea. I'm not copying, but
Sure.
it's a big inspiration for me. So whenever I get the chance in a song to do that, I'll fit in harmonies.
Yeah, and you could use it as another instrument too. I mean,
I do. Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes.
The second and the fifth tunes, I think, are the ones that Inside Out said that were going to be singles, Waiting and
Yeah,
Mystery. And
yeah,
I
and the
really got,
title track as well. The title track will be released next week,
okay,
a
yeah, I
week
think
before the
Roy
album.
did
Yeah,
say that he was going to do one more. Okay.
yeah,
And that'll give a better, not a better, but a different representation because I
yeah,
thought
yeah.
these two songs were kind of similar in that.
Uh, I don't really agree. I think Mystery is totally different from Waiting,
Oh, I meant
but
I meant shorter and more
oh yeah, yeah,
comfortable.
yeah, yeah. But the point is there is no one song that represents the album,
Yes.
I think.
Good point. Yeah, you're right.
So whatever single you choose, I mean, it's very arbitrary.
Yeah.
Could have
That's a
been any.
that's a great reason to buy it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got a 70s pop rock vibe from the Waiting song. And sort of it kind of reminded me of You Really Got Me, little kinks in
Okay, never heard that before. That comparison. I think You Really Got Me is more energetic, more raw. This is
exactly.
more stylish. This more, but yeah, I had this theme on I made a guitar sound on the keyboard,
Yeah.
and and I kept it simple. Of course, there's some things are happening in the chorus, but I like pop music, and I like to play pop music, and I don't want to be stuck in a prog rock label or in a ballad label or any label for that matter. It's just I want to write as diverse as I can within the limits of a band. Even I mean to write you can't very well put a country song and then a hard rock. That's silly. But without the boundaries and the possibilities of a band, I mean they could play it if I asked them, no problem. But I won't ask them. And I won't make many friends under the fence, I think. But no, I'm not limited by people thinking, oh, it's too much pop, and no. Personally, it's one of my favorites, and I like it.
Well, there's a lot of syncopation and there's a lot of room for the instrumentation. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's very open.
it's not your pop song where it's just, AABA.
No, no,
It's
no, no,
something
no,
that
no, no. There's more to it, but it sounds for kayak standards, it sounds pretty simple. And
and
but I think the openness of the production is working very well on this one, and
yeah,
especially Marcel's voice has such a special vibe. It's almost like you hear Bowie sing, as many people say.
that's funny. And this is going to sound like I'm lying, but I was
Yeah,
just going to ask you who's singing because he sounds like David Bowie.
yeah. It's the guitar player Marcel.
And so it's
He
Marcel.
sings.
Okay.
Yeah, he sings two other songs as well, as the
Okay.
crowd flies
Right. Okay.
and Carrie on the last side. Yeah,
Okay. That
yeah,
makes sense. And the crow flies. Okay, good. Because that kind of clears up some stuff for me because I wasn't sure what he sung and what Bart sung. But yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah,
got I got that David Bowie, maybe
yeah.
it's where they're from, in England. I don't know, you know, why that
What you
is.
mean? Where they're from?
I mean, maybe if they're from the same area, who knows, as David Bowie. So I have no
Who?
idea.
The singer?
Yeah,
No, he's from
from
The
Holland.
Hague. He's from Holland.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the third song, great rock riff, Under a Scar.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
just the
Yeah,
rock.
well, that's a little rock symphony.
Yeah.
No, it's the story of Electra, and it's the story of revenge, which generally isn't a great idea. And so, yeah, well, it's just it's one of the things I love about Greek myth and legends. The themes are big, but it is at the same time they're still valid these days.
Yeah.
Revenge and the never-ending cycle of revenge, and well, in this case, it's a very it's a story about a brother and a sister, and lots of murders in the family, and you know, you don't want to be explicit, but I'm using the story as a framework for a song, and you know, the song goes back to the beginning,
Mhm.
which represents the cycle of revenge, and I like to make structures like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting how you can, tie in the lyrics, the lyrical structure to
It's
the
yeah,
music.
but it's not that I think, you know, before I'm going to write, oh yeah, I'm going to make a cycle in this song.
Right.
It's while I'm working on it, I think, that's how it works. And you find out why you're playing and why you're creating.
Sure.
And that's the adventure in writing for me.
Yeah. The next song, is it Kaya or Kaja?
Kaja.
Kaja.
Kaja, it's the name of Marcel's son. He was born during the making of this tune.
I see. And it seems to me a guitar vehicle, so I guess he had a lot of room in that, or
It was written for guitar for him
I see.
only. There's no vocal on that track, so and because you know it's his solo part, just and so we decided to call it to name it after his son that was just born, and
Yeah.
because he had no sleep at all, of course, and
Yeah, it's one of the longer it's one of the longer guitar pieces because I find a lot of his solos are kind of neat, like Brian May, where
yeah,
he's in and he's chromatically just
yeah,
moving in and out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is like a guitar who sings the melody.
Yes.
And that's the way, you know, the song builds. It could have been a vocal, you know, but it's not. It's a guitar, and he's playing it wonderfully. So yeah,
Yeah. And then 5 is mystery and very catchy chorus, and lyrical
yeah,
spacing in that. I really like that a lot. It
yeah.
just gets you. The 6th tune is my favorite on the record, Critical Mass. I
Okay,
kind of get a Kansas vibe out of that. Um,
okay, okay.
something that they would do back in the day.
I don't know them very well. I just know that they once planned to make a tour with Kayak and Kansas in '78. It
Oh,
never came through, but
yeah,
um, so I've vaguely heard their music. So I
sure.
believe you. I believe you.
um, I like the guitar at the 4-minute mark. It's a backed up. The musicians backing it up are just. I think a
Yeah,
great
yeah, yeah.
guitar lead is supported by, great bass and drum line too. And
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. So important. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I got something about the 2-minute mark about the keys solo. I must have liked it a lot. The keyboard solo.
I wouldn't know what it is. I don't have the 2-minute mark here with me. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, the track 7, As the Crow Flies, at the beginning, is that just all keyboard or is there a voice in there too? It's very
The
it's
instrumental part, you mean the intro?
right. I'm not sure whether it's
I'm sure there is. To me, it doesn't sound like a voice, but it could be an extra. It's not. It's not a real voice anyway. It's if
okay,
it
so
is,
it's keyboard.
it comes from a keyboard. It's part of the arrangement. Yeah, yeah.
Sure, that makes sense.
Like a sort of flute-like voice in the background. Yeah,
It's a nice song, and this is another one where the vocals are just top notch. Are
yeah.
just
Well, it's Marshall. It's Marshall again,
okay.
and yeah, you know, we have 70 minutes of music on this album, and we have got 3 great vocalists. So it's a luxury to be able to pick the best songs for the best vocalist,
Yeah,
and so everybody, you know, has the best points coming out on the album,
got
and yeah,
so Bart
yeah,
sings the next one, number 8, I guess. So the way she said goodbye. I
yeah,
guess
yeah,
that would be
yeah,
Bart. That's another
yeah,
nice,
yeah,
just another one. And then I guess we're back to the 70s pop rock in track 9 with Trader's Gate.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
sort of
And
like a Toto song. I kind of
it
get
does, it does. You know, it's I wrote it together with the drummer.
uh-huh.
And well, I wrote it together is not quite true. It's I wrote it on the pattern that he's playing. He starts with it, but
Okay.
it's the pattern he always plays at sound checks.
I really
And
that might
and
be
he
my
uses
favorite keyboard theme on the record. So that's how it was developed, huh?
Yeah, he started with this, for years he did this because
Mhm.
he's using all his toms and all his cymbals and hi-hats and whatever he's got there, he's using. And he's not only playing with us, he's a very much asked session drummer in Holland.
Okay.
And wherever he plays this. So I said to him, I want to use that pattern that you play. I'm going to make a song of it. He said, yeah, you're the 10th in line. Nobody ever does it. So after 2 months, I gave him the file. I said, this is the song that nobody made.
Right.
And so he was excited. I credited him as a writer because without him, the song wouldn't have been there at all.
Yeah. I'm glad he did, because it's, I think every song on this record has a purpose. There's no real filler to them.
No, fillers, I leave them out.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they call them fillers, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And I'm finding myself doing something I don't usually like to do, comparing it to other artists. But the next track, Distance to Your Heart, reminds me of something that Neil Morse would write.
Neil
Um,
Morse. Okay, I've heard many names, but Neil Morse wasn't until now one of them. For
yeah,
me, it's a mix between ELO and the Beatles.
yeah. I guess I'm talking about, he writes so many songs in the same kind of structure, and
Okay.
yeah.
It's a very simple song structure, really. But
Exactly.
I had this beginning theme of the piano, da, ba, bum, bum, and then I thought of a huge cello arrangement over it, like the Walrus, and of course ELO. ELO comes up in mind, and I thought it just worked very very well for the song. And it's incredible to how many bands and artists this album is compared, because it's so eclectic.
Yes.
Everybody hears other artists in these songs, and still think it's Kayak, and
But it's Kayak. Exactly.
it's so funny for me yeah.
And the
Yeah,
thing
it's
that makes this particular song so great is that you got the backing vocals again, which
yeah,
are, and then
yeah,
you've got that guitar lead that's just like Brian. It's
yeah,
just, it's interesting. It's very,
yeah. It's very short, and he can his solos. He's got complete freedom, in those 16 bars or whatever it is, and he always amazes me. He
yeah,
always does something that I don't expect,
yes. I had a
and that
guitar player tell me once that, and had never heard this before, that most solos should only be like 10 or 15 seconds. I mean, most of the time you hear like, I want to play forever.
yeah, but I think the solo is a song in itself.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, and there's a beginning, there's a middle part, and an ending, and there has to be a connection, and it has to be. I think you have to remember it, as if you could sing it. And
Yes.
if you make solos of 2 minutes, that's a different kind of band.
Mhm.
We are not interested in long solos. It has to. It's all. I always say the song is master, and we serve the song. And if the solo is longer than whatever 16 bars, it's not a style. It's not a kind of music. And he could easily do 2 minutes and still be interesting. But as a writer, I don't find it interesting.
Right. Yeah, especially when you have all the songs on, I mean, so much music on the record anyway.
Right. We could do it live,
Yeah.
you can make longer solos, no problem. And everybody can, you make the energy and you can keep on going. You don't spoil anything. But this is a song, and it's silly if you have a 3-minute song, you make a 2-minute solo. So
Sure. And track 11, Red Rag to a Bull. Great. I guess it's a metaphor. Great metaphor. Um,
sure.
and an off the wall question, and this begs it. You have the fade out, where you have the singing fading out. How long do you
Yeah.
record that? And then you truncate it. In other words, like, do they keep going a couple more bars, and then you just, as it fades out?
Well, with computers, you can extend it as long as you want, of course. I think we had like 8 bars or so.
I say. So
And if you
it's the same repeating. Whereas,
It's repeating, yeah. Well, there's it changes a little bit, you know. After two times, there's another voice, and well, that's the funny thing with computers. You can, you know, you can drag and forward and backward until, but you know, the basic idea is what I have in mind, and I sing them to myself, and then I put them on demos, and then you know, divide them between all the vocalists in the band. But it's easy to decide to repeat something or to put it somewhere else. But the
okay.
basic idea is made in one time. Yes.
The it's funny because you got a song like "Hey Jude" where they would actually have to sing it over and over
Yeah.
again, and then McCartney,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Well, it happened that you know they took the tape and they started it at a certain point, but you have to do it 10 times to get it right once.
gotcha.
So,
Yeah, that makes
and I know that happened. I'm sure Queen did it, and you know, start backing vocals in at a certain point. But you need a bit of a luck to have it exactly right. And yeah, but that's a lot easier now.
and we have an acoustic guitar in this one, right? Sort of paralleling the electric in this
Yeah,
song.
well, it's Spanish, the
Okay,
Spanish influence, and you know,
the bull,
it's
yeah, of course,
yeah, of course, yeah. I don't need to explain
right in
that.
front of my face. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. The next one, "One by One," which I thought was you, but that's
That's
Christopher.
Christopher. Christopher,
There
yeah.
you go. And what else do I have? Sort of an odd ragtime ending at the end of that.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a heavy song. You know, it's
Sure.
a sort of tribute to people that passed away. It started off. Wait a minute, my something is happening here in my screen. Yeah, it started off. I started writing it as a sort of tribute to rock stars that you know they die all over the place at the moment. You know, everybody get you know, rock was something of young people.
Yeah.
It's no longer. So you know, everybody gets older. So you know, the old stars died, and I almost was one of them last year. So, but you know, I wrote it before that,
Sure.
and um, so that's what But then you know, I started writing the lyrics further, and now it's a general thinking about you know the natural way things happen in life. You born, you get older, and then you know you make room for the next generation, and in a way, I think that's comforting. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't want to live forever. Yeah, you want to live forever, but it's not going to happen. And I think if you have the choice,
Yeah.
it's not so difficult. But
Make the best with what you got now.
yeah, yeah, and so it's you know it's in a way it's a sad and heavy song because of the subject. You know, it's dying. It's not a bundle of laughs. It's not joy, but on the other hand, it's comforting. But because it was so heavy, and you know the ending is very symphonic and almost theatrical,
Yes.
I had to make a counterbalance,
Okay.
and so I put the ragtime, you know, it's no, put nothing going on here, and it's not so bad, you know. It's just an
Yeah, it's sort of
easy,
like a what does it matter anyway in the end? Yeah, sort of thing.
yeah, yeah. You know, make it not so heavy as
Lighten it up.
the
Sure.
things that lighten it up. Yeah, that's the right word. Yeah,
I had the word stately written down for the tune. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. It is. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
So yeah.
I'm not, I've never seen, Kayak live, so I'm not sure whether you do any solo pieces within the concert, but it seems like the first 2 minutes of this song would be a perfect Tom Scherpenzeel, coming out just playing the piano.
Which songs are you talking
Oh,
about
this
now?
one, the one by one, because
Okay.
yeah, it's kind of just you, for the first part of it, before it builds. So I always thought it
Well,
was,
and the vocalist. I
and the
mean,
vocals, of course.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, for me, it's really a vocal song and not something that I could. If anything, I would do it at the end
I see, because I was under
for
the
live.
impression I had thought this was your song, instead of the last one. So
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no. It's Christopher who sings it. Yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense. The 13th track is the longest one on the record, A Writer's Tale.
yeah.
Um, I kind of get 4 or 5 parts out of it. I think maybe the last part repeats for the first.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
sort of
It's
like an
the
epic.
going back to the beginning. Yeah, this is the most adventurous one for me, because while I was writing it, I really had no idea where I was going.
Okay.
And I just, sometimes I have a structure in mind, and then I know I write them like a puzzle, if you want. So so if I have a song that has 5 parts, and I have part 1 and part 3 and part 5, I know I still have to do part 2 and part 4. Yeah.
Sure.
And it's a sort of puzzle, but there's a logic in it.
Mhm.
But a writer's tale has no logic. While I was writing, I was just waiting what is going to happen with me while I was thinking of a next theme and a next idea. And then, well, that makes the different sections, which I think, make it interesting.
Yeah.
And pretty hard to write the lyrics to, but that's another question. But it was really an adventure. I didn't know where I was going, and at
As
the
long as you
end,
can tie the parts together too, because that's the one.
no, because I did write them one after the other.
Sure.
It was not a combination of I put them together after I've written it. No, I really made it like the way it's grown.
Sure.
Only I decided to put the ending is the beginning, to make it a complete cycle. If now it's not really a cycle, but there's it makes the ending
Sure.
understandable.
Yeah.
And but halfway I started also writing the lyrics, so that became the puzzle, because then I had to I had this length of a song, and then I had a subject, of course, the writer's tale, that about a writer that is basically being overwhelmed by his own the character that he wrote in his book.
Oh.
And if you read the lyrics, I don't think you have the lyrics, do you?
No.
No, I think that's silly that Inside Out doesn't send the lyrics. I mean, it's part of it's so essential for the album.
Yeah, I did. No, I don't think I do. I'm not. I don't.
No, I think I've checked this afternoon. Nobody gets the lyrics. I think that's so much information there. Anyway, it's about a writer who has to kill his own character in order to survive. He falls in love, and he's he does everything that she wants, and it's like a thought game, I like to, every now and then I like to write something like that, but it fits the music, like it's weird and something is off, and but that was like a puzzle, getting the lyrics stretched over the whole song.
That's a great theme, because a lot of writers are like that too. They're very close to their characters and have to put themselves into it.
Yeah, you start, I'm not a writer. I mean, not a book writer, a novel writer, but I can imagine that, once you've written a character in your book, and you make another one and a third one, then you sort of get commanded by that character, because in the beginning you think of what could he or she do, but after 3 books, that's not you're directed by the character itself, and that was the starting idea of, well, maybe he's falling in love with his own character, and she lets him do what she wants.
Sure.
And that's why, as he is a thriller writer, there has to be some plot, so he has to kill her off.
So why not? Yeah.
Why not? Yeah. Let's keep it cheerful. Yeah.
It's funny when you talk about bringing the theme back. One of my favorite bands is Iron Maiden, but they have a fault in a lot of their songs where they're always repeating the very first part at the very end.
Okay.
They have a lot of songs like that where they have to, Yes used to do the same thing too on their long epics. They would take their theme, and I guess
it's logical
to remind people. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also sometimes that's the way you write, and
sure. Yeah. And the 14th, the next to last song we talked about, Carrie. I think Casey Kasem would love that song. That would just fit perfectly in American Top 40. It's just a great song. Right in there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like one of those pop songs that I would like to write and like to play.
Sure.
Sometimes
Sure.
I'm a very simple pop lover, and yeah,
Is there a
that's
cowbell in there?
yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I heard some
More
cow.
cowbell, more cowbell.
Exactly. If I'd ever hear that again, it's like,
I would say it.
that's funny. And the last tune is a very good closer. Ship of the Thesis.
Theseus.
Yeah.
Theseus. Yeah, you need the lyrics for that one as well.
Okay.
It's a thought experiment. And it's a metaphor for, well, I won't say it, but you'll find it. It's the thought experiment. Also, Theseus is an old Greek sailor,
Okay.
and what he does is he goes out sailing, and he sails around the seas, conquering countries, whatever he does, and slowly, one by one, well, another one by one, the parts of the ships are replaced. So by the end, when he comes back after 3 years, the whole ship is replaced. The
Okay.
question is this still the same ship?
Yeah.
And the other question is, if you took the old parts together, would that be the old ship?
Okay.
But, the new ship made the journey effect, and the old ship didn't experience all those things that the new ship has, but it is the old material. So it's a thought experiment. It's like a paradox, if you want.
And you got that
And
all under 4 minutes.
yeah, well, that's yeah. But that's why I made a title of it, because so it's more clear.
Yeah.
But well, the analogy is kayak, of course.
Sure. And the people like me have to hit over the head with the meaning, because one thing a lot of artists say is, oh, it's whatever you get out of it. No, it's you wrote the song.
Well,
You tell me.
no, I don't agree with that, because sometimes I think it's nice to explain a lyric, but
Right.
most important thing is that what the listener hears in it.
Sure.
And if they want to know what the writer thinks it is about, they should listen to you and to me and to interviews. But to
Makes
me,
sense.
it's more important what people get out of it,
Okay.
and not what I put into it. I should be happy with it, and I should be, content that it's what I meant, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean that it's that what the people read.
Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, I think last time we were talking about you write music for a comedian. Is one of
Yeah.
your main jobs. Did that get scuttled because of the COVID, or are you still doing that, or?
Well, I'm comedian is a bit narrow.
Oh
He has
yeah,
a show.
political and yeah.
Yeah, he's political, and sometimes he tells a story about himself, and it's more like a stand-up comedian, but then in no, not comedian. It's cabaret,
Sure.
and he tells a story, and there's sometimes a song and an underscore, and but I don't go on tour with him.
Okay.
So I've spent a month writing it, and then it's finished, and then
Okay.
he tours 18 months,
Yeah.
and then we meet again.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just not sure whether, how it is over there, whether he's touring or,
There's nothing. No, there's not. It's impossible to.
Yeah.
But they have sort of test gigs with 30 people, and it's terrible.
Yeah. Yeah. And you haven't given any thought about any virtual gigs or anything like that,
We
right?
did, but I don't like playing to camera, and you can do it once, and we're not the Beatles, It's it's not the same interaction, the energy, and I've watched a couple of streamer concerts, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
For me, it wouldn't add anything to the album.
Yeah. And I think instrumental bands work better in that format anyway.
Yeah, but at the moment, at this point of time, and at the release, it wouldn't add anything to the album. If we
Exactly.
would go out and play with the audience, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But this is just getting the album as close as possible live, without audience. Yeah, well, I say put a record on.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. So I guess we get the administrative stuff out of the way. It's on Inside Out Records.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can get it. Is there a Bandcamp or anywhere else?
Yeah. Yeah, Bandcamp, and then I don't know exactly the Kayak, Bandcamp, and then the title of the album, and yeah.
Okay. I always wanted to ask you, you've had the same logo the whole time. I mean, for the
Yeah.
whole career, I guess.
Yeah.
How did that start? How did the Kayak logo get started?
Well, we started at when EMI was still a big company in Holland, and they had their own designers.
I see.
And one of them, I don't even know who it is, came up with the two options, and we chose this one. Both had the reversed K, and we could keep it. So yeah.
Well, I guess being a palindrome, that made it natural.
Of course. Yeah. The Y, it's when you turn the K, it's identical, and it's everything that a palindrome needs.
Exactly.
And it's fish. I mean, the name Kayak, you could discuss if it's a good name, but it's the logo is fantastic, and that's why we keep it.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I wanted to ask you, I guess based on the other interview, is very interesting. I was asking you about writing in English, and you were saying there were a lot more words in English to describe the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas that's limited in Dutch.
Dutch is much more direct.
Uh-huh.
In Dutch language, of course, you've got poets that know how to play with the Dutch language as well, but it's very direct. If you say a thing, it's usually what you mean, and it's very difficult to get layers in the Dutch language.
Yeah.
And metaphors, of course you can do it, but then it sounds like presumptuous and over the top.
Yeah.
And in English, it's into my ears, I'm not a native speaker, but in my ears it sounds more logical and more there's always more behind the lyrics and behind what's being said or being written than what you hear, and that's what's intriguing for me. And on music it sounds better to me than Dutch. But
well, if you got more words, you can fit more in to different.
Yeah, and they're shorter. Shorter. Dutch words are longer, and they have a lot of G's that don't sound very agreeable. But I know I've written a lot of music to Dutch words as well, to Dutch lyrics, and but they should be written as songs.
Yeah.
Then it sounds better. But it's another craft, and I think even if it's not my first language, I'm especially writing better in English than in Dutch.
Makes sense.
For a song.
Yeah. Well, Ton, you're going to be my guinea pig, so this might be my first video I put up, but
Okay.
The audio will definitely be up on deliciousagony.com, and I'll be doing a special like I did last time on my Richter scale show, and I'll let you know when it airs. And I think last time I played a lot of 17, but due to the release being May 7th, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll play the 2 or 3 songs, and then some stuff from the career, but I'll chop up the interview so the listener won't get too bored. Listen.
I always try to post the link to on Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
So people enjoy that, and yeah.
And I think I still have your Hotmail. You still have the same email.
Hotmail.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can always reach me through Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll do that. Well, I've been talking to Tom Scherpenzeel. Just another masterful record. Following up on 17. It's just, I don't know how you do it, but you continue.
Don't ask me.
after all these years. I did want to ask you one more thing. I have a friend who's a giant Kayak fan, and he wanted to know if you were going to do anything for the 50th anniversary.
Well, not yet. We're thinking about it. Because the tour we want to do now has to be postponed to next year, which
Yes.
coincides with us. So it's a bit of a, or we choose 23 because that's the year the first single was released. So we're still thinking about it.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
were you working on a solo record also, I believe?
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Okay.
working on a. You've heard about The Lion's Dream, which was my last one.
2015 or something like that?
13. Yeah,
13,
yeah.
yeah.
Like a Baroque, Renaissance, folk, bit of prog, and more acoustical. And I'm going to do a new one in October.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Which will
called
probably be a different
Velvet
kind of thing.
Armor. Yeah.
Yeah. Probably a different kind of theme or a different kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, it's like if you know my last album, The Lion's Dream, it's more in that vein. It's no rock band or whatever.
Okay.
No.
Sounds good to me. Well, thank you for your time, as
My
always.
pleasure.
And I'm glad you're feeling better. Continued health.
Thank you. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll all be over this soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Todd.
Bye bye.